Comics with your hosts, Nate Phillips and Brandon Stone.
I am a god, you dull creature.
What's up, everybody? How's it going? Welcome to a NateCast here on a late Saturday or Sunday evening. Holy cow, lost a day. I travel a lot, so that happens from time to time. I can't remember what my days are. Anyways, so let's get right to it. I wanted to start off this podcast by saying, yeah, we've kind of changed our format. We needed to mention that right here in the beginning to let you know that Brandon's not gone, and when you hear Brandon and I'm not there, I'm not gone. We just are taking turns. We both kind of get to have episodes where we can focus on what we want to talk about individually and get some extra, knowledge and insight to what we were talking about on those episodes. And then when we're together, we can just be an even greater tandem. But that makes us having personal lives, like right now I know Brandon is enjoying his night off while I'm recording. And then next week the next time I have a week off when it's Brandon's solo cast, I'll enjoy it. So anyways, I want to talk about Gotham. Now, Brandon and I had discussed Gotham a little bit, and I think Brandon was a few episodes behind. Maybe now he's caught up, maybe not. I'm not quite sure. So, okay. Gotham is moving quicker and quicker, okay? Things are getting crazier. The Penguin is moving the chess pieces faster and faster, and he almost can... The best way to say this, it's like he almost knows every move that everyone else is going to make, and he has no questions of exactly how to carry out his plan. So I think the Penguin in this show is great. The guy that plays him is phenomenal, and I'm trying to avoid the ums, so forgive me. And I'm kind of out of breath, which is weird, but continuing on. So in Gotham, we've built this Penguin character up, and he keeps getting darker. He keeps getting more clever, I guess is the best way to put it. And he has kind of manipulated every person in this show, except for, I don't think he really has manipulated Jim Gordon. I think he's used Gordon as kind of like a chess piece once in a while, but realistically speaking, he didn't do to him what he's doing to Falcone or what he's doing to Fish Mooney. He's not that guy. But that's not really the Penguin storyline. Don't get me wrong; it's great. The reason I want to talk about Gotham is something very special happened this week on Monday's episode, and there's a new episode that's going to be coming out tomorrow or Monday the 17th. And here's the thing that I thought was amazing. I'm watching Gotham last Monday, and they're having this really cool episode, and Bruce is going back to school for the first time, and I was like, oh, cool, I didn't think anything of it. And then there are these bullies at Bruce's school, picking on him and being kind of shitty. And I was like, oh, maybe there's a small chance one of these guys would be Tommy Elliott, who famously becomes Hush. And, of course, it's revealed the kid's first name is Tommy, and then that's all you think is, it could be any Tommy. There's no way they drop someone as epic as Hush into this universe without hopefully having real intent to use him, and it's not just a minor Easter egg that's like, here, we sprinkled a little something on that for you, but it doesn't really mean a damn. So then Alfred takes Bruce to Tommy Elliott's house, and that's who you find out it is, in fact, Tommy Elliott, who, like I said, famously becomes Hush, and such an epic storyline in the later Batman issues. 608, I think. 608 was the first issue of Hush. Don't quote me on that. My DC knowledge is not as good as it should be, and I'm trying to work on that, actually. I'm trying to get into the DC universe a lot more, learn about more characters, as I've come to realize that, like, with characters like Arrow, Flash, who we're getting ready to talk to here in a minute, I'm starting to really enjoy these DC characters because I'm finally letting go of the stigma of you have to be Marvel or you have to be DC. Now, I've always been kind of middle of the road, but I kind of always favored Marvel because they were the company that really didn't hook me first, because Batman was definitely the first. But the Marvel was the first that enchanted me with the idea of comic books. They put the comic book spell on me, So back to, DC, I went on a really weird tangent here, so forgive me. But, they sprinkle Tommy Elliott in there. And I thought, oh my gosh, I hope and pray that they are actually going to use Hush. This is not some sort of sick joke or some kind of, hey, we're making you think something, but it's just a swerve. So, you're not paying attention to what we're doing right in front of your face. Because a lot of times shows will do stuff like that. They'll write something that seems complicated to the comic book fan or something that we know should happen, and then in reality they're swerving us with some other big storyline that we think we can read exactly how it's going to play out, but then it doesn't play out anything like we think it's going to play out. So another interesting thing that happened in Gotham this week, we had Black Mask, well, an iteration of Black Mask in the episode, and I tell you what, folks, I have really violent sneezes. Holy cow. But that's what's candid about this podcast, and I don't care. I'm not going to worry about it. This is who I am, and I'm just talking to you people who are listening, and I thank you all who listen. It's a really cool thing to know that you guys care enough to come on our show every week and check out what we're saying, and, hopefully you're coming up with your own thoughts and conclusions and opinions and ideas for what is going to happen in the movie universe of Marvel and DC, or how the comic books are shaking out. Speculation is the most beautiful part about being a comic book fan, and if you don't speculate, I highly suggest you start the speculation and just whatever conclusions you can draw. Try to draw these conclusions and get an idea of what you think is going to happen. It will make the payoff of the show one of two things. It will either A, show you that the show is smarter than you, and that's a good thing, because that means the writing is up to your standards of understanding. So either the writing is going to be smarter than you, and they're going to be able to swerve you just enough to make the big reveal epic, without anybody really catching on that that's the intent, or they're going to write below you, and then you just get left with that, well, I could have wrote that better, a lot better, and now I don't like this show as much anymore. So speculation's good, because then you can kind of filter through the stuff that maybe you don't really like, but you're stuck on. I still don't understand why I'm watching Constantine. I didn't get to watch this past episode that aired on Friday, and I need to, but I'm having a real hard time wanting to even go download it. It's just, it seems unnecessary. The episodes are fun or whatever, but they're trying to filter all these Easter eggs and continuity from things I don't know, and I'm trying to understand them as a comic book fan, but I can't process them because they aren't so sensible to me, and they're not so forthcoming to explain how anything is connected to anything, so you're just kind of left with this, oh, well, I fucking guess he knows this guy. Like, I don't know why he knows this guy, but sure. There's no backstory to understanding these characters, and maybe later they'll go back to that, but, we don't know. Back to Gotham to finish up. I know I tangent all over the place, but that's just what and who I am. Gotham is keeping it real, keeping it really interesting, and we're probably going to be coming up on a mid-season finale here soon, assuming that all fall television will do the break. Hopefully they don't, because then I'm going to be left with well, I guess I have no other excuse. I have to watch S.H.I.E.L.D. because I've tried, folks. I tried watching S.H.I.E.L.D., and this is a good segue out of one and you'll get there, but S.H.I.E.L.D., okay? I watched 2 episodes of S.H.I.E.L.D., and even though I had watched the same 2 episodes, and then watched a third new episode, it wasn't good. It seemed too drama-y for me, too soap opera. That's the word. It was too soap opera-y for me, and I wanted it to kind of be a beautiful extension of the Marvel Universe, but it's really rough. So I'm going to just have to force myself to watch it when I've got nothing else to watch. And once I've gotten through it, hopefully it'll pick up, and be great. But I don't really see that happening, so we'll see where that goes. On the other hand, and I've kind of been able to sort of halfway talk about this show, Arrow. I finally got myself all the way caught up, and the show is moving right along in its current season. Cupid just made her debut. We got teasers online of Laurel Lance as Black Canary, which is super epic, as that is one of DC's mainstays of female heroine, is the Black Canary, played by Laurel. Now, I'm going to kind of go back and little quick mini journey into Arrow and how, without tons of spoilers, kind of a quick recap as best I can. So you've got your first season, and Oliver is just this guy who is proficient with a bow and arrow, but you really don't know why. Is he a billionaire who just gets a bow and arrow? What the fuck? This doesn't make sense. Because you understand that he was shipwrecked for 5 years, so then you're kind of led to assume. And the one thing I absolutely just am enamored with is how brilliantly Arrow's writers decided that let's take two storylines of the same person, so you're getting a past storyline and a present storyline, and let's intertwine them so brilliantly and so seamlessly that it's shocking how good it is. Now, with Arrow, they've got, the Lian Island story, and then they've got Oliver in Starling City, and, they kind of tangle, and you kind of learn that Oliver had a really shitty go once he survived the sabotaged boat wreck. There are going to be some spoilers, folks, so I'm sorry. Don't listen or something. I don't know. I'm going to try not to do that, but I'll slip, so I'm sorry. You might not remember this anyways unless you study my words, which is scary. So, back at it. So there's, the storyline of Oliver, and he's protecting Starling City, and he's kind of doing this vigilantism on his own, and it comes to light that people think he is the Arrow, and he finds a way to kind of swerve them, which was really clever. And then there's some other stuff that kind of happens, and there's a lot of character building with John Diggle and Felicity Smoke, which Felicity is probably my favorite character on that show. She's pretty to look at, folks, and it's just great writing for that actress. So watching and getting a feel for this show, I learned really quickly that you think you know everything about Oliver Queen, and then you really don't know shit, and that's really cool, because they just kind of they've done it in such a brilliant way that they can expand and build the story of Oliver Queen over that 5-year time frame when he was away from his family, away from Starling City, and build up to something that's super epic. But one thing I really loved so far in this show is that the first season planted seeds for the most epic second season finale that had such a huge payoff. Near payoff, but that's besides the point. You get eventually to one of the most epic DC villains in Deathstroke making his appearance for reasons I can't explain, to take on Oliver and to destroy Starling City and make Oliver pay. So, I have the belches. I'm sorry, again. Let me get a drink here, folks. I have a little bit of a cold, and it's kind of making me a little swimmy. So, I'm trying to stay focused and whatnot. Anyways, so Arrow moves from the second season into the third season. That's where we're at now, and they're building towards a crossover with The Flash, which is, I thought it was this way, but Wes had kind of told me the other way, and then the internet said both ways, and then we finally got the official synopsis for the Flash Arrow crossover. And episode The Flash versus Arrow is going to be in The Flash. And then the second part, which both episodes are going to be 2 hours, the second part is going to be The Bold and the Brave, and that's the Arrow episode. And they cross over, and there's a lot of big stuff, and we've got Arrow doing such a great job continuously building characters and kind of putting people in different places, and they're not really revealing. And this is one thing I really like about Arrow is they don't reveal to you right away in the beginning of the first episode or anything like that who the main villain of the season's going to be. It's usually a really classy, undertoned setup to someone who you're just like, oh, those motherfuckers. I didn't even, that's super smart of them, you know? So Arrow is amazing, obviously, and then The Flash is getting really good. It was already good, but it's just continuously growing, and I know, again, very little about the DC universe, but I do know one of the mainstays of The Flash is Gorilla Grodd, who officially was further teased this past week on The Flash as to where they flash back to Dr. Wells before the incident of Star Labs exploding, and Dr. Wells is talking to Grodd, who it's just a gorilla in a cage named Grodd, and he said, "No, not you, buddy. I've got bigger plans for you," or something to that effect. And it's cool because when you first saw the tease for Grodd was in the first episode where the cage had been broke out, and then now you're kind of getting a little backstory, meaning maybe they're teasing him to come into this season, maybe not. You don't know with the CW writers that are writing for Arrow and Flash. They're really clever, and I want to applaud them. So in Arrow we had the Suicide Squad, and in I think it was Arkham Origins had a Suicide Squad, I do believe. And the comic books have Suicide Squads, and there are all these different forms and variations. And we, heard this rumor that Jared Leto is going to play the Joker, and then this guy, I think his name is Jai Courtney, who was John McClane's son in A Good Day to Die Hard, is going to be playing Deadshot for the Suicide Squad movie that has got, like I said, allegedly Jared Leto, Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. Looks like a pretty big film, and they're kind of mixing it up and adding big and smaller names. It's almost looking to be like the Suicide Squad is going to be more like the Expendables, like a really strong cast of good, talented. If Jared Leto's cast is the Joker, he'll still be douchey, but good, talented actors and actresses who can kind of make a dark, witty kind of movie that I think the Suicide Squad needs to be. Dark and kind of brutal, but still just hints of humor, because that's kind of what the team also hinged on, is that they can be humorous at times while still being villainous and kick-ass. So, more DC news. We're kind of just DC heavy. Actually, I think we're pretty much all DC tonight, folks. There was some little Marvel news, but nothing too crazy. Trailer for Age of Ultron, little extended footage, more just minor additions to the scenes you've already seen. And allegedly they're going to be tagging the new, The Hobbit, The Five Armies. That's going to be tagged with the Age of Ultron trailer. So we'll see. And I think Interstellar has it as well, but I haven't seen it yet. By the way, everyone, I'm going to see Interstellar. Don't spoil it for me. I heard it was really great, and I cannot wait to watch that. Anthony, thank you for that heads up on that movie, buddy, because just your body tones, like your expressions, how you were carrying yourself after that movie was like something that's quite euphoric and very epic. So it looked really good. And I hope to see it soon in theaters too, because you said seeing it in IMAX is worth it. So that's a plan. So Batman vs. Superman is filming in Chicago. We already ran over this, I know, and Henry Cavill's floating, but they're doing something epic, and I'm really excited, and I'm ready to talk about it. So here it goes. The Aragon Ballroom, which I do believe is where I saw Bullet for My Valentine a few years ago. Maybe not, I can't remember. I did see one of the few concerts I've seen in the city of Chicago was at the Aragon Ballroom, and it was, I can't remember. Again, my brain damage is very real. So, I didn't say, I just did now. Damn it, oh well. So, I got myself again. I didn't mean to. Anyways, Batman vs. Superman's filming in Chicago. at the Aragon Ballroom, where they've got it set up to look like an old movie theater, playing the movie The Mask of Zorro, which is the movie that the Waynes went to in The Dark Knight Returns when the Wayne family was killed, except for Bruce, who becomes Batman. So that's pretty epic. Zack Snyder just doing like he said he was going to do, and just staying right on that straight and narrow path of, hey, I'm going to kind of stick true as I can to the Dark Knight Returns script as an introduction for Batman into my DC universe. And there are so many just intense things that I hope happen in that movie, and I stand by it. I'm very nervous because they have so much packed into this film. You know, it might be a 3.5 hour movie. You know, they might say, whatever, we'll do 4 hours. We don't care. You know, I mean, and then you think if that's their standard, then this movie's going to be long. You've got 2 Justice League movies coming. You know, they're going to split them into 2, which I still feel is rushed. I really do. And I hate to say it, and I hate to sound mean and all of that, but DC, I don't see what you guys see. I don't see all of that working how you want it to. I think Marvel could literally, I mean, the word Marvel is your right to print money. You know, if you do anything with Marvel, you could essentially print your own dollar bills because it's ridiculous, you know. And they make their plans for their movies. They're very strict. We're going to get this done. We're going to do it this way. We're going to have these movies come out when we say they're going to come out. And that's exactly how we're going to do it. And maybe once in a great while, due to maybe some crazy script edits or something, they might have to push a date a little bit, you know, to accommodate a small change in their timelines. But they have serious goals, folks. And if you're not caught up in the Marvel Universe, good news. As of tonight, you can actually go on kickass.to, which is the torrent site that I use, and download a Blu-ray rip from Yiffy of Guardians of the Galaxy. What up? That's exciting. I am excited to watch that movie again. It was so good. It was such a great film, you know? So, last time I was on my solo cast, which I have a weird stigma about saying solo cast, because it's almost like Solocaust. When I look at it, it almost looks like it says Holocaust, and I don't want that stigma with this. So solo cast, keep that in your minds. NateCast, maybe. We are trying to figure out creative. Brandon and I want to tag where my casts have a certain, you know, like into comics, you know, and then his is like into video games, or, you know, however it may be. That's probably not it, but something to that effect that identifies. That way you guys can go, oh, Brandon had his episode this week. Great, let me go listen. Oh, Nate has his now. Great, let me listen. Or, hey, there was that one Brandon episode that I can't, and then, but which one was the Brandon episode? Well, now I got to read through all this stuff, you know, and you have to go through and scroll and read, and that's frustrating. We want to make this easy for you guys so you can enjoy Journey into Comics wherever you go and whatever you do. You can always find us on iTunes. You can also check us out on YouTube. Hopefully soon I'll have my first video up. I have been doing a lot of other work for Journey into Comics. I have our banner designed and ready for print whenever we decide to go for that. So that way when we do cons and stuff, you guys will know that we are where we say we are. Now, anyways, back to the solo cast. We want to find a way so we can identify and so on and so forth. And then one of the things that I started, and Brandon then also did his, was the video game timeline of my life, right? Which I think I'm just going to call the video game timeline. You guys kind of get the point. Now, the video game timeline this week, I'm just going to get right down to it. Kind of a little bit more of a depressive thing, but that's no worry. So when I was 8 years old, my parents got divorced, and that's pretty typical for, most middle America children. Divorced parents, that you're with one of the, either you're going to be with the single parent, or if you've got siblings, you're together with your siblings, or you're separated from your siblings, or, there's all these different varieties, and I was of the type where I lived with just my dad, so my dad was a single father, and he raised me to be the crazy motherfucker you guys know now, so if you like me, thank him, because I had nothing to do with it. I was the clay, and he molded me, mostly. I'm a little off the cuff and speak my mind a little too much, but, I'm going to piss in some people's Cheerios. At least I want to do it the way I want to do it and not, secretively. Anyways, so my parents got divorced when I was 8, and my mom got remarried, blah, 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 and then there's drama, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, after my mom and dad split, I lived with my mom for like 2 weeks or a week. It was probably not even a week, maybe 4 days. It was a small amount of time. You guys get what I'm saying. And my mom brings this guy home, and she's like, hey, this is Carl. Do you like him? And I'm 8, and I don't really like this guy. I don't know him. I don't know anything about him, and he's in my house, and he's not my dad. And this is weird, why are you by my mom? You aren't, my dad. And that was kind of the thing. So I called my dad crying in a state of shock. And I said, this guy's in the house, and I don't like him in this house. He's in our house, and I don't want that. I want my dad, and I want things to be right, and I need to live with you. I'm 8 years old, and I make this very adult, honestly, very adult decision at a very young age. And a lot of my kind of wisdom in life doesn't always suck in the end. And you can always find silver lining in any dark cloud, as they say. And there I go with the fucking ums again. It's like I'm going to have to do like 200 push-ups before this is all done. Whatever. So, the split happens, and things are dark in my world. And I end up moving to my grandmother's house with my dad in this very small one-bedroom room. And my grandma had a very small... my grandfather built this home with his bare hands. Legitimately, every single thing that house had, my grandpa built with his bare hands. And you just don't have that very much anymore in this world. Or if you do, you're one of those super rich MFers that built it with their hands but only got dirty half of the time. So my grandfather builds this house, and my dad grows up there. And then we kind of, in a weird twist of events, we end up back there. And in the time we were there, which was probably only maybe 2 weeks, 10 days, something to that effect, my cousins lent me their Super Nintendo with Super Mario Kart. And that was my escape. Every day after school, after my little bit of lunch, and it was springtime was when all this was going on. I can remember the windows being open, and the smell of that spring air through her house and that back room it's bringing back some pretty strong memories. But I'm back there, and this town is maybe got 300 people that lives there, and it's not like they have anything. They don't even have really a gas station in this little itty-bitty town. They don't have anything, A post office is it, literally. And a little fire station. And it really takes me back, but I remember just sitting in quiet and hearing, beep, 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 and you'd start your race. And I remember the old Super Mario Kart racing, and the feel of that controller on my hands is very tactile feeling. Your 4 buttons on your right thumb and the D-pad on your left thumb, and you had your 2 very round oval start and select buttons in the middle, and your 1 flipper on the top, L and R. And that feeling is very... And I can remember that time, and it was very dark for me, but I always looked to Mario Kart, and the final lap noise has never really changed, and that's something that every time I play, I always think of my grandmother, who's been gone for 8 years now. Wow, that's depressing. It's been a long time. So, from the darkness of that, spawned the person that I am today. And what I mean by that is that I really I remember those moments, those dark, dark times. And I just always remembered that it wasn't always going to be this bad, and there was going to be a lot of good to come. Because if you live and you have anything rough happen to you, life always hurts the people that can handle it. You know, it always picks on the people that, you know, can usually take it, the tougher ones. And everybody's had loss and tragedy and things, and it's just, there are the little moments in my life that were so dark then, but they're such bright moments now. And it's funny how that happens. I think now of when my parents were just getting divorced and this video game system, and now I'm just it's so overjoyous for me just thinking about it, just like, holy cow, that was, even though it was a dark time, it was such a great time. It was a good time to grow up as a kid. I feel like our generation, my generation, is very fortunate to have grown up in a time where I think we appreciate things a hell of a lot more than the kid nowadays. And I don't want to sound old or dated, you know, because I'm not that old. I'm not even 3 decades yet, you know. You're not even 3 decades. And that's still not even old. You know, when I hear the word old, when I think of someone being old, honestly, to me, old is like 85, 95, you know, where you're actually old and life has finally started to, you know, show. You know, the hard life that you live is starting to kind of bleed through the pores, you know, and let the world know, hey, I fought a lot of battles, and I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to rest, you know. So those dark times were not the darkest, and the light times weren't always the brightest, but the Super Nintendo, if there are really probably 2 games that encapsulate, and maybe 3, and maybe I'll do a little miniature parts in the next couple episodes before I start to move deeper into the timeline. But Super Nintendo was kind of where I started to grow my consciousness as a person. So, like, I remember Zombies Ate My Neighbors, and we could talk about that, and we could talk about Killer Instinct. Holy shit, what a classic. Other games that I played 10 Star. No one knows what the fuck 10 Star is, but I know what 10 Star is, and that's a very fond thing for me. And my parents didn't read video game reviews, and they bought me this game, and I liked it. You want to fight about it? No. So anyways, a little bit of comics. The Walking Dead 134 came out this week, and holy shit, things are getting crazier. Okay? So, when we left off The Walking Dead, Jesus was getting attacked by oh gosh, what did they call themselves? My brain hurts sometimes. All this knowledge, and they wear other people's skin, you know. But they're the Whisperers. That's right, they're the Whisperers, because they whisper, right? So the Whisperers are attacking Jesus and his crew, and his buddy Darius, you know, gets hurt really bad, and you think maybe he's dead, but you're not really sure, because they kind of leave you as a cliffhanger. And then you come into 134, and you find out Darius is not dead. Things are not as bad as they seem in the world. Jesus survives, and he kills off almost every single one of the Whisperers, except for one, who he enslaves, or, you know, captures, if you will. So he brings Darius, who's losing a lot of blood, needs to see a doctor, back to town. He has got this hostage now, essentially, who he wants to get information from. But some things that kind of, I always Tarantino a little bit, and I don't mean to, but some things that kind of were crazy about this is that the Whisperers are just very, almost like Hydra. Like, oh, you don't know how many of us there are, but we know how many of you there are, kind of thing. And they're very dark, which is exciting, and I'm just hoping that they continue to grow this story. I know it's Kirkman, and I totally trust what Robert Kirkman does, so I don't need to worry too much, but it's one of those things. Come on now, let's get this thing, let's start to, flesh out this story. We're past Negan now. We're hardly talking about Negan, who's still at he's still in the town in jail, and things are good in this book. So in the midst of the stuff that's happening with Jesus, we're kind of going back and forth, and we get a little bit of a Maggie storyline, and it's this guy, and he's telling her kind of how to do things at the hilltop. He's like, Jesus and Darius's team have been gone for days now. Why aren't you going after them? Something's wrong. And she goes, don't tell me how to do my job. You can't even. And he said, well, I'll go out then. I'll go on the run to check on them. And she goes, be my guest. You can't even ride a fucking horse. Like, you can't even ride a horse, guy. Why are you talking to me? Right? So it just keeps getting better and better. Then we get to the Carl storyline that's going on. And Carl and Sophie it's Sophia. Sophia. Yeah, Sophia. My fault, or Sophie. I can't remember. Carol's kid. Fucking Carol's kid, Sophie. I think. Yeah, anyways. Sorry. So, her and Carl are talking, and they're reminiscing, and they're talking about a moment that happened in the book in, like, issue probably 42, I'd say, maybe 41, somewhere early in the prison where things were kind of good, and nothing was too insane, with the governor and all that. So, and she's talking about how, and Carl's talking about how the walkers looked sad, and he never really thought of it like that. And then once he did, it kind of changed his perspective, and he always felt bad doing what he had to do at times, and he kind of had remorse for what he had done. And then these dudes show up to pick on Sophie. And they're picking on her, and, Carl runs off, because Carl's a big chicken shit, you think? And they're beating the hell out of this girl, and she's fighting them, and they're fighting back and forth, and then they're dead, because Carl kills the shit out of them with a fucking shovel. Holy shit. And then Carl reveals what he did. No secrets. He's just like, hey, I think I killed these people. Oops. Wow, Carl Grimes, you are a fucking dumbass. What are you thinking, kid? Dude, Rick's going to hear about this. It's very bad. Things are very dark. Another issue that took a deep turn. They keep doing this really cool build-up, and you want to read the next issue. And I can't say the same about all the other comics that I read. Some of them are not, some of them are not as good, the comics I read. I mean, I like them. I like the characters in them, but the stories aren't captivating. And at the end of the day, you can have great characters all day. But if you write a story about 3 cave people, and it's the most captivating story, and it's just the most creative thing, I'll watch that, or I'll read about it if it's a comic. More TV needs to be, more television needs to start to take after the way that these comic book shows are doing, to kind of wrap up this show that was mainly about comic book shows. To me, when you have good programming, and you've got Gotham, Flash, and Arrow with just impeccable writing, the story that just keeps you wanting more, you're into the characters, you're invested. It's strange because there are people online, and I still don't understand this, that really hate Gotham, and they think it's bad, and I think they just have twigs in their ass, really. It's really good writing. It's really creative. They're not pandering to anything, and they're kind of keeping their options open, which is a great thing. They have no fear, and that's what TV needs, is to have no fear. When in a world where people think it's most people now, when the Kim Kardashian thing happened where she tried to break the internet, it didn't break the internet, it's a bare ass, whoop-de-doo. Ooh, the front inside of it, she had showed her boobies. Okay. The first thing that got her famous was a porn, people. Why is this shocking to you people? If this shocks you, what's your problem? Seriously, think about it. Use your logic for 1 second. I mean, really, just logic, okay? Think about it. She was in a porn, a homemade porn, and that's how she got famous, okay? And then she showed her boobs and her booty in a magazine, and people are freaking out. And not everybody's freaking out. Most people are like, come on, this is dumb. But there are people that I just don't understand. I hope you're not one of those people, listener. That's all I got. This is a very strange, different kind of episode for the Journey into Comics. A little more downtrodden, I guess. No use of the buttons. I guess I could still sneak one in there while I'm sitting here talking to you. Let's see where my buttons are. They're here. What one do I want to push? I don't know. Should I do random? Maybe I should do random. Yeah, let's, what's this one?
I'm Batman.
That's a fucking cool one. And then there's,
I've got balls of steel.
Okay, cool. So. Oh, shit. We got cows. Oh, man. Anyways. I just want to end this episode telling everybody this. Holidays are coming up soon, folks. Don't forget about your loved ones. Don't take any one singular person for granted. If people are being a pain in your ass in your life, try to let them know. And if they decide not to be in your life, that's their decision and not yours. And all you can never do is try. The world would be a better place if everyone just was happy and loved everybody. But there are so many negative things always on everyone's mind, always, The ulterior motive of life has kind of put that into our systems. It's just who we are. We all battle each other in some form of fashion, just constantly taking our lives away. But if you look what's in front of you, look at your friends and your family that surround you, the people that you are surrounded by need you as much as you need them. And that's a fact. I wouldn't be the person I am today without my friends. And part of me thinks that they wouldn't be the same without me. That's all I've got, folks. This was a very dark and doomy, gloomy episode of Journey into...
Finish him!
Journey into Finish Him! Okay, anyways, I just want to tell everybody to have a good holiday. Enjoy yourself. And until next time, I am Nate with Journey into Comics.